for you to take a moment and imagine a visual arts class that you took during school. Now, how many of the skills that you learned in that class have you used in your academics, workplace, or in general? I want that response to be overwhelmingly positive. But the only way you can do this is if our curriculum document targets transferable skills and is relevant to our students. Right now, the curriculum document hasn't been updated in almost a decade. So I started to think, what would we do to update this document in anticipation for reform? My interest in the topic comes from my own passion and love for visual arts. I studied it in my undergrad, and I also am a practicing artist in my spare time. And I thought that looking at what's being done globally to target these skills could be beneficial in a Canadian context if adapted and evolved. I looked at one study coming from Boston that shows that we should focus on technical skill because students who focus on technical skill show an improvement in geometric reasoning, which also shows an improvement in performance in mathematics. Another study talks about how it can improve connectivity in the brain. This can develop cognitively, mentally, and behaviorally. However, this also neglects the benefits of the creative process. In Finland, for example, they're focusing on creativity by taking students out on field trips, having them pick a local place and redesign it. This focuses on reconstruction and being creative. Place-based learning isn't new to Canada. Indigenous communities have been using it to rediscover their language, culture, and history, and their students have been creating positive representation of Indigenous people through their work. Finland focused on the creative process through reconstruction and redesign, and we see this sort of creativity happening in China as well. In China, the focus has shifted from being more academic-centered to focusing on this kind of creativity. And they noticed that their students actually benefited in their technical skill as well because of the time that they place in their discipline. There's also the argument that there should be a focus on digital literacy, that by focusing on digital literacy, students are developing skills that are required in the 21st century. With this shift in technology constantly becoming more and more intertwined with our lives, it's important that we teach students these skills so that they're prepared for the modern workplace. In Taiwan, this is being done in a really cool way. So they're actually using interactive whiteboards to teach drawing. Now, by doing this, they're developing digital literacy, but they're also working on technical skill. So for future research, it needs to be thought how these techniques and methods would be used in a specifically Canadian context. We need to look at the needs of specific communities within Canada and our particular provinces. And in Ontario in particular, what our specific needs are based on student need in the workplace. And if we make these curriculum documents focusing and preparing students for their future and relevant, we can make this more accessible for our students and even spark a passion that will last in a lifetime.